What is up, you freaky folks? My name is Nick, and welcome to my channel, where I cover all things horror, whatever you're watching, I'm making videos about. And I have to start out, of course, by apologizing for missing last month's Hulu video. So I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I know that you're gonna be like, Nick, this list would have been way more helpful a month ago. I know, I'm sorry, my bad. But I still think this is a pretty solid list of recommendations that you're gonna wanna check out on Hulu before they're gone.
You've seen all kinds of movies, but you've never seen anything like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Number 10 is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. This camp classic musical comedy is about a couple who break down on the road and find themselves at a house full of wacky characters, including the iconic Tim Curry as Frankenfurter. Does the plot matter? No, it's just fun. This movie usually returns to theaters around Halloween, but hey, you don't have to go anywhere to watch it. You can stream it right now on Hulu.
We decided to make it female so that it would be more docile and controllable.
More docile and controllable. I guess you guys don't get out much.
Number 9 is Species. This 90s sci-fi thriller is about a supermodel alien who busts out of a laboratory and becomes a full-on succubus, preying on men as a group of scientists try to track her down. If you're in the mood for some 90s cheese, Species will satisfy your craving. I watched a couple of the Species movies a few months back, and while they might be silly as all hell, I'm totally here for it. This movie has a ton of gratuitous nudity, but it also has basically a praying mantis alien succubus lady villain. It's dumb fun that I'm totally here for.
What's up? Dude, don't be gay, man.
Number 8 is Club Dread, a horror comedy from the crew that brought us Super Troopers. It's about a group of people at an island resort that's a non-stop party until a masked murderer begins slicing and dicing the staff. If you want to know what's wrong with people who grew up around 2004, watch Club Dread. It is rude, crude, and all sorts of inappropriate, so I know it won't be for everyone, but it is a favorite from my teen years, and it's nice to see pop up on a streaming service.
Hello?
Bobby?
Jill, is that you?
Have you been calling me? Can I speak with the police?
Has he threatened you?
He just keeps on calling.
You're safe inside that house.
Number 7 is When a Stranger Calls. I know, I like bad things. Let's talk about it. This remake follows a babysitter who begins getting increasingly threatening phone calls while watching a pair of kids in the middle of nowhere. I know in today's world the idea of answering one phone call sounds horrifying enough. This movie is basically an exercise in teenage anxiety, but it came out in the golden year of 2000s remakes, 2006, when I was watching basically everything. It's technically a well-made movie that has some money put into it, but it is the most generic, bland, almost made-for-TV type of movie. Yet here I am recommending it to you. I can't explain it, I'm just doing it. Also, they have the original over on Amazon Prime if you'd prefer to watch that classic or if you want to do a double feature.
Welcome home, Sydney. Watch the preview of coming events.
Number 6 is Scream 4. This sequel in the popular slasher franchise brings Sydney, Dewey, and Gale back to Woodsboro to uncover who's behind the ghost face mask this time when a new slew of brutal murders begins taking place.
Dewey,
What's going on? It is not public information.
it's all over the internet.
It is?
While this one does have a couple of silly moments that almost ruin it, I do think it is just slightly better than Scream 3, and with Scream 5 on the way, you might want to brush up on your franchise knowledge.
Time for your last question. Name the remake of the groundbreaking.
Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Dawn of the Dead, The Hills Have Eyes, Amityville Horror, Black Christmas, House of Wax, Pop Night, My Bloody Valentine.
Number 5 is Blade. Based on the Marvel Comics, this action horror stars Wesley Snipes as the title character, a half-vampire, half-mortal hero who protects the world by slaying all the vampires. I remember watching this movie as a kid and being like, yeah, that's cool, but after rewatching it recently, Blade is totally badass. If you can get into the 90s cheese, then I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And they also have the sequels. I have not watched those recently, so I cannot vouch for them, but if you want to get into them, they're there. Number 4 is The Field Guide to Evil, an anthology horror consisting of 8 tales of dark folklore from around the world. Initially, I wanted to include this in my video on Huluween, but it didn't feel very Halloweeny enough, so I thought I'd save it for a recommendation video. It isn't exactly art house horror, but it also isn't mainstream horror. It's an interesting, if not always entertaining collection of stories that I found to be hauntingly beautiful, so it's well worth a watch. Number 3 is Interview with the Vampire, a horror drama based on the novel by Anne Rice. Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise star as vampires in the 1800s who live as creatures of the night. Decades and centuries pass by as they stay the same. This is a movie that I remember seeing my siblings watch a lot when I was a kid, and it was one that helped me get into horror. And now as an adult, I look back and realize that I connected with it so hard because this movie is so gay, not nearly gay enough for me, but I mean, hey, for big budget period piece horror of the 90s, good enough. Number 2 is The Blair Witch Project, the found footage movie that changed horror. 3 filmmakers working on a documentary get lost in the woods of Maryland as they are preyed upon by a mysterious entity. This is a love it or hate it kind of movie, so I understand if it isn't for you. I just did a full video on The Blair Witch Project as part of my 13 Nights of Halloween special. Check that out if you care to. I probably should have known that it was streaming on Hulu when I posted that. Would have been good to know, but hey, whatever, here we are, now I'm recommending it. I love this movie, so if you haven't given it a shot, I would recommend that you do, but also, you know, prepare to maybe hate it. Also, watch the garbage sequel, it's over on Amazon Prime, it's so bad.
You told us that you could protect us from everything.
Why did you look for my daughter?
Number 1 is Prisoners, a psychological thriller from director Denis Villeneuve. 2 young girls go missing on Thanksgiving, leading to a desperate search. One of the fathers takes matters into his own hands when the police fail to wrap things up quickly. I love this movie. I love Villeneuve. I think this is one of the top thrillers of the 2010s. It is so good. It is 2.5 hours of superb filmmaking that I strongly recommend you watch at least once. If you're looking for some Thanksgiving thrills, you can't do much better than Prisoners.
Where's my daughter?
And now it's time for my bad movie recommendation of the month, because I have to slip at least one in here. And for this month, it's gotta be Nurse 3D, the number 1 movie that has no reason to be in 3D, like at all. It's an erotic psycho thriller about a nurse who leads a double life as a serial killer who preys on men who cheat on their wives, and after she becomes obsessed with a coworker, she snaps even more and becomes increasingly dangerous. It is so bad. Actress Paz de la Huerta, who plays the title character, actually sued the filmmakers for making her look so bad. She said she'd never have a career after this movie. I don't disagree, but I also think she contributed a little bit to that because it's pretty bad all around. From the writing to the acting to the overall execution, this movie is absolutely ridiculous, and that's kind of why I have to recommend it to you, because it goes all the way off the rails at the end, which is what I love. If you've seen Nurse, let me know what you think. It's like one of the worst movies ever. It's so bad, but I can't help but love it. That is my list of the best movies to watch on Hulu in the month of November and the one and only year of 2020. But before I go, I thought I should also recommend Bad Hair. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with it, but it's about a black woman in the 80s who gets a weave to help with her professional career, but turns out it's evil and it begins killing people. I really liked the story and the journey of the character until about 75% of the way through the movie, and then it gets ridiculous. And as I've just said, I really like when movies get ridiculous, but it kind of had me and then really lost me. I mean, it kind of feels like Scary Movie 17 for about a good 10-15 minutes towards the end, and I was just like, what is this, bad hair? Come on, get it together. But overall, I thought it was a pretty enjoyable movie that I would recommend watching if you can deal with my taste in movies. But let me know what your favorites are in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, I'm sorry about missing last month's video. I was planning on doing 2 for this month to make up for it, but you know, Hulu, they just have to get rid of the stuff I like to recommend, so here we are. I really appreciate your understanding and all of the support. You guys have just been, what can I say? I can't thank you enough, so I'm just gonna move on. We're just gonna wrap this up already. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss any creepy content. That's it for this video, but I won't stop you from watching another.